Unique New York.
Oh.
Smoke Show! Smoke Show! Smoke Show! Smoke Show! Smoke Show!
Greetings, humans. Josh Smoky Hell Nelson here with Nate Polvogt. Am I saying that correctly?
So close. Polvogt, like politics and vote. is how
Polvogt. Damn.
My wife teaches people to say it now. So
That's actually a really good one, though. I'm here with Nate Polvogt.
very good.
There we go. All
Nailed
right.
it. Nailed it.
So, Nate, the people need to know. Calvin Ridley announced he would be stepping away from football at this time to focus on his mental well-being. Now, listeners of this show know how important the topic of mental health is for me personally, as I deal with my my own mental health issues and have dedicated entire episodes to it. Now, Calvin isn't the first player this season, even in the NFL, to take time away to deal with mental health issues. Also, like Carey Price in the NHL, taking time away to deal with his own mental issues and some substance abuse issues as well. But I got to tell you, man, I could not be more proud of the courage it took to publicly make these decisions. Nate, my question for you is, are we to expect this to become the norm? Now, these issues have always been there, but the ability to be forthcoming about them and honest with both themselves and the public hasn't. But as these barriers and stigmas are broken and chipped away at further, are we to expect more of this? Could this be an agent of change within toxic masculine sports culture as a whole?
I really hope so. I mean, a lot of my writing is about this kind of stuff because I am the same as you, Smokey. I have my own stuff that I go through. I have for all of my life. And there was always a stigma attached to it. So I never talked about it. And I just suffered. And I think at the professional athlete level, there's even more of a stigma, or has been even more of a stigma, because like when Dak Prescott was going through his stuff and Skip Bayless ripped on him. You know, you're not a leader. If you're not a leader, what are you doing playing professional sports? Leaders don't talk about these things. Leaders deal with them on their own. And honestly, to me, with the Dak Prescott situation, when he came out and talked about, hey guys, I'm having a rough time, you know, like my mental health isn't great, I thought it was incredible and a show of leadership to say, absolutely, I'm not okay. And that's okay. And it's okay to not be okay. I was taught growing up to shove all of that down. I had some specific things happen in my childhood where I really needed therapy after some certain events of my childhood. And I was denied that. I was told, you don't need it. You're going to be fine. We'll figure this out. It's not a big deal. And so I did. I shoved it down and I didn't deal with it. And I almost lost my marriage over some of this stuff. I was in a dark place for a long time. And to see someone like Calvin Ridley say, my mental health and well-being is more important than a game, was amazing. And it's important. And I hope that this starts to become more of a thing. I think within the organizations, they're starting to realize we have to give these guys leeway to get right and get healthy. Pete Carroll's been an enormous advocate for that for years in Seattle. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't they have a team therapist? And every player goes to said team therapist once a week. Every player in the organization, the 53-man roster, practice squad guys, coaches, trainers, everybody has access to that. So there are places where it is becoming the norm already. But I am hoping with Calvin Ridley, and then I can't remember the name of the guy from the Eagles this season who stepped away for a while and came back. I don't know why I can't remember his name. Chris something. Was it Chris?
Chris Long?
No. Yes, maybe. Whoever it was. yes, I think this is starting to become more of the norm. Fans don't necessarily like it at some points. I've seen a lot of people call Calvin Ridley weak. I've seen it on social media. We've heard it in the media. But I think we're getting to the point where most of us are saying that's horse shit. Absolute horse shit. This isn't weak. It's strength. Because it's really hard to recognize that you're dealing with something and that you need to take care of it. Because as a human being, you want to, no, I'm strong. I'm tough. I can get through this on my own. I don't need help. But we all need help. And can you, and another thing I don't think people are thinking about with athletes where, oh, you're supposed to be so strong. Could you imagine living your life under the microscope these guys live? Everything about them is public. It's very hard to keep a private life. We find out everything about these guys, where they go out to eat, where they grocery shop, like what kind of car they drive, who their friends are, who they're in a relationship with, past relationships, their kids. Like, I couldn't handle it. I can tell you right now, without heavy therapy going through that, I couldn't handle it. I don't know how most of these guys do, but I also think that's why we see a lot of these athletes getting in trouble, like Josh Gordon. I guarantee you, if you go back to the root of why he keeps getting suspended, it's because there's something in his past or something in his brain he's not dealing with. So he's using substance to deal with it. And we all do that to some extent. I mean, that's why I smoke pot, because it calms my anxiety so much. Yes. And there was a long period of time when I didn't. And when I started smoking again, I could tell a difference in just like my general mental well-being. I was a more clear, thoughtful person that didn't have all of these anxiety attacks all the time. I'm glad we're seeing it start to come to the forefront of professional sports. Kevin Love stepped away for the same reason. And that was 5-6 years ago. And he was ridiculed for it in a lot of circles. But I think that was the start of, okay, all right, athletes are real people. They're human beings, just like you and me. They go through all the same things we go through. Money doesn't fix shit. When it comes to your mental health, man, I could have $200 million and I'd still be an anxious mess. Just yesterday, prime example. I mean, I know part of my anxiety was because I had 2 shows, a column, and some other writing to do. But there was no reason for me to have the amount of anxiety I had yesterday. It's just there. Sometimes you can't explain it. And to call someone weak for something they can't control is insane to me. That'd be like calling somebody weak for having like Tourette's. Like, what the hell are you going to do about it? I was born with it. It's in my brain. I can't change it. I can't stop it. And I really hope that becomes more of a conversation around these guys in professional sports.
Mm-hmm. No, I absolutely. Nope. Continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and if you're looking at it from a standpoint of like fantasy, like, but I needed Calvin Ridley to be on the field. This is pathetic. Dude ain't going to be good for you if he doesn't get his head right anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's a great point. And you could tell through some of his production this year. Like, we all saw what Calvin Ridley did in 2020, and it was amazing. And it was so nice to see. And I mean, tout, he was one of my guys for 2020. So I gotta always throw that out there. And my love for Calvin Ridley knows no bounds, man. I mean, people would think, if I wasn't so like outspoken about being a Cowboys fan, that I'm a Falcons fan, because like, I mean, Ridley, I love Kyle Pitts. I mean, dude,
Kyle Pitts.
Look at the Gator, look at the Gator blanket behind me, man. I've been in on Kyle Pitts.
It's pretty.
It's beautiful, baby. But a little bit better than our season is looking right now. But anyways, this is about a different topic as well. People would think that I am a Falcons fan because I tout these players so much. So when I saw that Calvin had announced that he is stepping back, it filled me with such joy, not because he had to step back, but because he stepped back. Because he publicly said, this is why I need to step back. And looking back in hindsight, you could see that this was clearly affecting his production this year on the field. Mm-hmm. And if that isn't blatant evidence enough to these naysayers to say, "Well, I need you to be on the field." You know what? When he's on the field, he's not 100% able to do this because much like if he had an injured hamstring, would you say, "Get out there. I need you to be out there getting me points"?
Thank
No,
you.
you would say you need to rest that hammy, man. Like it's not something to mess around with. What makes the brain tissue any different than the soft tissue in your lower body? Other than,
Not,
the gray matter and neurons
well,
firing and everything. But you
But-
get the comparison here. If that is injured, you take time to heal. If this is injured, you take time to heal because this affects your body more so than that.
well, and two, like football's a mentally complicated game.
Yes.
There's a lot that goes into prepping for a week. And if your brain can't focus because you're so anxious or depressed or whatever you've got going on, do you think you're going to know what you're doing coming into Sunday? Of course not.
They're not
You're gonna be-
robots.
No, you're going to be like half there and you're not going to be able to focus when you're on the field, which leads to injuries in other places as well. And injuries to other players if you're not focused. I mean, a lot can go wrong if your brain can't focus. I mean, and if that's what it takes for people to understand that it's okay for these players to step away for their mental health, if it's purely for performance and that's what it takes, that's okay, I think, for now, if it'll get us there.
Yeah.
But maybe we need to start explaining it that way. You want your guy 100% on the field on Sunday, whether you're a coach, a fan, another player, or a fantasy manager. That's what you want that. Calvin Ridley wasn't 100% mentally when he was on the field. So he was underperforming. Plain and simple.
It's all connected. It's all one bloody body. Like, I don't know what people don't get about that. Like, don't tell a guy with a hamstring injury to go out there and run fucking 100 yards for a game, man. You don't tell a guy that is mentally not well to go out there and perform at his peak. It's just not possible. One affects the other. It all affects each other.
Well, yeah. And so I wrote a column last Tuesday, that was about why I'm participating in Movember. And it was a big, like, I have been mentally that's why I have the whole beard going.
That was for you.
Yes. I wrote about just like how I've struggled with anxiety and it's really affected my life in a lot of ways and it's not been good. And it took me a long time to figure out that I needed therapy. And one of the comments on the tweet that I sent out to promote it was basically called me a beta male or something. And like, all of us alphas are tired of you betas whining and crying. Deal with it on your own. And that's the attitude out there. And it's a lot more prevalent than I would like to see, but it's definitely out there. I know it floats around a lot in on my side of the family in a lot of circles. I had a conversation with one of my cousins a couple months ago when he was going through some tough stuff. Like many years ago, he never reached out to anybody because he assumed that we were all just going to tell him he was weak. And it led to a long drug addiction that he kicked on his own. He got out of it and he's doing much better now. But it could have been avoided if we just said, dude, it's okay to not be okay. That is okay. Because anybody who tells you that they're 100% okay 100% of the time is absolutely full of shit. They're lying to you.
Full of shit or full of drugs, man, because that shit ain't possible naturally.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they're full of shit or they don't understand what's going on and they don't want to understand. Therapy is probably the single most impactful thing I've ever done in my life. Talking to someone about what's going on. And then this fantasy community on Twitter that we're all a part of, it's crazy because so many people, we can actually talk about these things with each other. Like, yeah, bro, I'm having a rough day. And nobody says, fucking buck up. Because that's the wrong answer. When somebody says, I don't like, I'm not right in the head right now, telling someone to buck up doesn't work. No. All that does is makes it worse. It makes you feel worse about yourself because you're like, well, there's something wrong with me and it shouldn't be, and people are judging me for it, and I'm a weirdo and I'm not okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're 100% okay. Like, if you get nothing else out of this conversation, it's okay to not be okay, guys. It's like it's 100% okay.
Yes, sir, it is. Growing up, it was much the same thing. I was a hockey player for 14 years, and it was just, physical as well as mental, man. You suck it up, you get back out
Yep.
there. Parental influences were also a part of that, and
Yep.
I don't hold it against them at this point. It's all they knew.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, different generation.
But that's the thing. We don't get that excuse anymore. We know better collectively as a society, as everything. We know better at this point. So there is literally no excuse other than willful ignorance.
Yep. 100%. Or looking for a reason to get down on people.
Yes.
That's its own whole mental health issue too. So
that right there.
Yeah.
So circling back around to the question, do you think this becomes the norm?
Yes, I do. I think it's going to take a little while. It's going to take a minute for us to get there, but we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. I mean, there's so many advocates out there. Hayden Hurst is a big one. Hayden Hurst is a really big one. I did his podathon this summer for mental health. I think there are enough people out there that understand that this is going to be an issue. It's not going away. For lack of a better term, we're living in a more woke society that understands this stuff, and that extends into sports.
Mm-hmm.
And if these teams want to continue to field competitive teams, they're going to have to realize that mental health is a part of that. It's physical and mental health has to be in the conversation with these athletes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I agree. I think this will become the norm slowly but surely. But when you see higher profile names like Calvin Ridley, like Carey Price, as unfortunate as it is, sometimes that's what it takes for people to snap to attention and be like, okay, it's real. I didn't believe it when, that Jag had it because, whatever, fuck him. He doesn't have the skill for it anyways. But when they see their guys out there, it's like, okay, this is for real. And if that's what it takes, so be it, man. Because these guys are getting the help they need now. And in the long run, it's going to make them better people. And it's going to make them better players because of it as well.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. Let's just hope that this trend continues and we see it getting better.
Absolutely, my man. Well, let's leave it off on that positive note. All I got left to say is where there's smoke,
there's fire, baby.
Oh, yeah.